Hello and welcome back to another video of Between the Ropes TV. Now, today we're going to run through, there's obviously been a busy week of boxing this week. We've got so many fights coming up, but in this video in particular, we're going to focus on the return of Vasyl Lomachenko versus Jamaine Ortiz, which will be showing on ESPN and Sky Sports in the UK. Now, Ray, obviously we know that Lomachenko, he last fought in December last year, and obviously he makes his return now almost a year later against Jamaine Ortiz, unbeaten fighter. How do you think he goes about dealing with the test this Saturday?
Well, I think he'd be keen to show that he's back to his fit, usual, busy, aggressive self. He'd be keen to show that psychologically in the ring, he's not been clearly has been impacted by the events that's been going on in Ukraine from February this year to now. But in the ring, you want to show that that's not affecting him. And you want to show that this is going to be a continuation of that rehabilitation from the Teofimo Lopez defeat. Those wins against Nakatani, against Richard Comey, he'd be wanting to continue that rich vein of form. And I'm looking for another aggressive, explosive, powerful performance from Vasyl Lomachenko.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we've seen recently, obviously, he's had injuries and obviously other stuff going on, like, with the whole issue that was going on in Ukraine, etc. Now, obviously, we know that, a lot of time away from the ring is never good for a fighter. How do you think, do you think that time away from the ring will be a hindrance to his performance, or do you feel as though it may have done him a world of good because
very
of
good question.
injuries?
Yeah, very good question, because he's had nearly 400 amateur fights, and he's near enough. He's coming up to his mid-30s anyway, but he hasn't had a lot of wars as a professional. So I think in a way you've got to remember he's been on the front line in his home country, so he's inevitably be taking a break, and psychologically, that's going to wear down heavy on him, what he's had to endure on the front line, worrying about his family, etc. So even though he may be physically fresh, psychologically he could be worn out. But the way Lomachenko is in that ring, I don't see that being too much of a hindrance. Perhaps if you're being up against a stellar opponent, I would have said, well, he's not had the best of preparation. But I'm not greatly overlooking Jamaine Ortiz, but I don't expect him to pose too much of a threat to Lomachenko come Saturday night. So I think the rest would have done him some sort of good physically. It would have allowed that shoulder to heal. I think his dad in his corner is going to put him through psychologically. That preparation he needs to make sure he's going to be in the ring in tip-top shape come Saturday night. And don't forget, his dad also sometimes trains Alexander Usyk, and he helped him get prepared for Anthony Joshua on the back of what's gone on in Ukraine with the Russian war. So you'll know what to expect, and I'm really expecting a really solid performance from him.
Yeah, well, that brings us on to the next question. Obviously, we know for Jamaine Ortiz, this fight is like the ticket into like big time boxing if he was able to pull off the upset. What do you think his mindset is going to be like going into this fight?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head there, Yas. I think this is his world title fight. I think that's the way he's looking at it. I mean, it's been a slow and steady rise for him, hasn't it? 16 and all with a one draw, and in 8 of those wins come by way of stoppage. But he had a pretty decent win last time out against Jamel Herring. Jamel Herring moved up to lightweight. I think that fight was in May this year. He got a good points win. I think it was over 10 rounds. So look, we know he can box. We know he can use that ring. But I just think within his style, he won't be used to somebody who's so quick to cut off the ring, use those angles from the southpaw stance, and put that pressure with the lead foot on the outside. He'll be watching that left hand of Lomachenko's like a hawk, but what he won't anticipate or what he won't be used to is the speed of the right hooks and the different angles that Lomachenko will use to work off the openings. So he's going to have to be really, really cute of how he uses that jab. Everyone knows the best punch to beat a southpaw is the right hand, but he's going to have to be really, really careful how he throws that, because if he throws it just a split second too slow, he's going to get countered with a sharp left hand. So he's going to have to be really, really on his P's and Q's in this fight.
Yeah. And where do you think the winner of this fight goes for the next fight?
I'll be honest. If in some freakish manner Jamaine Ortiz wins this fight, who knows where I can get him? I would imagine it'd be a straight rematch, ASAP. But if Lomachenko wins, clearly there'll not be any rematch. I believe they'll want to put him in with Devin Haney. And then from Devin Haney, I think they'll be wanting to put him in with Shakur Stevenson. That's not how I would personally want to play it, but that's my understanding of what will happen. Those are great fights. Those are really, really good fights. I think I would like to see the Teofimo rematch, but Teo probably will never go to 9 stone 9 again. So I think those will be the next fight for Vasyl Lomachenko, or there's the potential winner of Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis. So yeah, I think that'd be the avenue that they'll go down with him. No, I think it'll be Haney and Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah. Well, lastly, just to finish up, obviously we know on this channel we don't like to sit on the fence. We like to, get a prediction out there straight. How do you see, who wins this fight and how do they win it?
I think Lomachenko wins by stoppage. I'm gonna go for round 8. I think he's just going to be too quick, too sharp. Those angles are going to be too much. The right hand's going to do a lot of work. I don't think he'll be feeling the shoulder in this fight, and I think Ortiz can. I don't think he'll win. I think he'll be competitive in the early rounds. I don't think he'll win the rounds. I think he'll do what he can to keep. I think he'll deliberately go backwards to allow Lomachenko to come forward, knowing that if he keeps Lomachenko in the center of the ring, he'll allow Lomachenko the avenue to keep his lead foot on the outside of his and to work off that. So you'll not want to allow Lomachenko room to pivot and use lateral movement. So you'll want him to come forward to try and negate that. I think he should be pushing Lomachenko back because Lomachenko's more effective short to mid range. So that's how he's got to win that fight. But I think Lomachenko will do the opposite. I think he'll use those angles. I think he'll work those openings, and I think the volume, the accuracy, the speed will all be too much for Ortiz to take.
Yeah, well, there you go, guys. That's Ray's opinions on how the fight's going to be. Let us know what you think in the comments, if you agree with Ray or not, and tune in for the next one. Thank you.